In Italy, an American family, Ben and Louise Dalton, and their daughter Agnes are on vacation at a resort. There's also another British couple, Patty and Ciara Feltz, with their son Ant, who has a speech disability. Agnes is 11, but still depends on a stuffed rabbit named Hoppy for emotional support. Later, Agnes loses Hoppy and starts to panic. The Feltz family finds the rabbit and returns it to her. The two families end up having lunch together. Ben tells Patty that they've recently moved to London for his job, and Louise had to give up her own job for the move. Patty mentions that he's a doctor and explains that Ant was born with a smaller tongue. The two families get along really well, and Patty invites the Daltons to his and Ciara's country estate. Back home in London, Ben expresses concerns about Agnes needing to move on from relying on a doll and tells Louise that he didn't get the deal he was hoping for at work. Louise shows him a postcard from Patty and Ciara, inviting the Daltons to join them for the weekend. Although Louise feels that spending time with people they barely know is risky, the family decides to go, hoping the change of scenery will be good for them. The Daltons drive for a long time and finally arrive at the Feltz farmhouse in the evening. They are warmly welcomed by Ciara and Patty. Ciara shows the couple to their room, and Agnes will share a room with Ant. However, what seems like a warm welcome also carries hints of microaggression. Patty mentions that they killed their favorite goose and roasted it for them, then forces Louise to try it, despite knowing she's a vegetarian. Louise takes a bite to be polite but spits it out when Patty and Ciara aren't looking. Later, Ben takes out the garbage. Suddenly, Ant appears and opens his mouth as if trying to say something. Just then, Patty shows up, and Ant quickly goes back inside. The next day, both families go hiking in the woods. During a break, Agnes tries to play on a swing set, and Patty aggressively forces Ant to push her, making Louise uncomfortable. Noticing that Louise's neck hurts, Patty takes them to a nearby cliff and suggests everyone jump into the lake, claiming that cold water therapy will help her neck pain. Everyone jumps into the water except Louise. Back at the farmhouse, Louise starts to express her discomfort to Ben and considers using her neck pain as an excuse to leave. Just then, Ciara shows up and invites them to join her and Patty for dinner. Feeling the pressure, they agree. Afterwards, they all get dressed and are about to leave when Mujid arrives. Ciara explains that he's the babysitter for Ant and Agnes tonight. Louise then realizes they weren't supposed to bring the kids and feels a bit uneasy, but she still decides to leave. On the way, the Daltons are even more unsettled by Patty's reckless driving. The dinner is hosted by Mike, a local poacher and a friend of the Feltz family. During the meal, Patty challenges Louise's choice to be a vegetarian, mocking her decision to be a pescatarian. To make things even more awkward, Patty and Ciara discuss their active sex life and joke by pretending to have oral sex under the table, making Ben and Louise uncomfortable. After dinner, Ben offers to pay part of the bill, trying to show some consideration, but Patty and Ciara leave the entire bill for Ben to pay. Meanwhile, Mujid plays hide-and-seek with the two kids. Ant leads Agnes to a room and shows her a watch in a drawer with a message in Danish engraved on the back, but Agnes can't understand its meaning. Later, Ant wakes up Agnes and reveals his torso, which is covered with bruises and scars. Before Agnes can ask any questions, Ant hears footsteps and quickly returns to bed, pretending to be asleep when Ciara and Louise open the door to check on them. Before going to bed, Louise and Ben have an argument. However, they talk it over and hug it out, unaware that Patty is outside their door, spying on them. Later that night, Louise wakes up and goes to check on Agnes, but finds the room empty. She searches the house and is shocked to discover Agnes sleeping in bed with Patty and Ciara. She quickly grabs her daughter and rushes back to their room, waking Ben and demanding they leave immediately. The Daltons quietly sneak out before Patty and Ciara wake up, but on the way, Agnes realizes she left Hoppy behind and starts to panic. Her parents try to calm her down, but she gets upset, kicking Ben's seat and almost causing them to crash into a truck. Ben has no choice but to turn the car around and drive back to the farmhouse. He tells them to wait in the car while he goes to get Hoppy. After a while, when Ben still hasn't returned, Louise goes to check on him. She goes inside and finds that Patty and Ciara are already awake and upset that the Daltons tried to leave without saying goodbye. Louise admits she wasn't happy with what happened last night. Ciara explains that Agnes was crying, and she has a motherly instinct because they once had a daughter who they lost. Ciara apologizes and asks them to stay, saying Ant still wants to play with Agnes. Reluctantly, the Daltons agree to stay. Louise and Ciara stay with the kids. Ant tries to write a message to Agnes, but it's in Danish, which she doesn't understand. Just then, Ciara and Louise walk over, and Ant quickly eats the note before Ciara can see it. Meanwhile, Patty takes Ben hunting and asks him to shoot a fox. Ben can't do it. Patty mentions that he overheard Ben and Louise arguing and tells him not to keep his feelings inside. He then takes Ben to a quiet open area so they can release their emotions with loud, cathartic screams. After the men return, the families have lunch together. Ciara starts making comments about the way Agnes is eating, which annoys Louise. She tells them not to parent her daughter, Patty insists Ciara apologize, then demands that Louise apologize as well. Agnes and Aunt then try to show off a dance they've been practicing, but Patty criticizes Aunt for not getting the rhythm right and even throws a mug at him, which scares Agnes. Louise is upset and confronts them. Later, she tells Ben they need to leave. Ben says he's had a bit to drink and needs some coffee to sober up before they go. Louise complains that he's being a coward. While Ben makes coffee, Patty takes a nap. Aunt seizes the opportunity to take his keys and leads Agnes to the barn, where he reveals a hidden basement. Inside, Agnes is shocked to find numerous suitcases, shoes, and mobile phones. Aunt then shows her a photo album, with all the photos showing Ciara and Patty with an unhappy child next to different families. Aunt tries to explain the pattern. All the unhappy children in the photos were actually the kids from the families in the previous pictures. The last photo shows Aunt with his original parents, and he still had his tongue. Aunt mimes to make Agnes realize that Patty and Ciara cut out his tongue and plan to make Agnes their next child after killing her parents, just like they did with the others. Agnes quickly takes a photo of the album, and they hurry out of the barn. Aunt goes to put the keys back, but finds that Patty has already woken up. Aunt pretends to want a piggyback ride and uses the chance to sneak the keys back to him. Agnes tries to tell her parents but doesn't get the chance, so she pierces her thighs and pretends to have her period. Louise takes her to the bathroom, and Agnes shows her the phone. Terrified, Louise tells Agnes to stay calm and go get Ben. Meanwhile, Patty is playing football with Aunt. When Patty goes to fetch the ball, he notices the basement latch is exposed. Once Ben learns the truth, they decide they need to leave immediately. Louise finds a box cutter, and the family tries to act as casually as possible to avoid raising suspicion. They tell Patty and Ciara that Agnes is anxious about her first period, so they need to go home. Just as the Daltons are about to leave, they notice they have a flat tire. Patty offers to help and changes it for them. Once it's fixed, Agnes realizes Hoppy is missing again. Patty points out that Hoppy is hanging from the gutters, forcing Ben to climb the ladder and retrieve it. The Daltons finally get ready to leave, and Ben asks Aunt to open the gate so they can escape together. However, Patty stops him and opens the gate with his remote. As they start to drive away, they see Patty throw Aunt into the lake. Ben tells Louise to take the wheel and dives in to save the boy. Louise tries to drive out before Patty can close the gate, but she's unable to escape in time. As Ben pulls Aunt from the water, Louise and Agnes are already held hostage at gunpoint. Patty forces Louise to transfer their savings, while Ciara holds Ben, Aunt, and Agnes at gunpoint. After the transfer, Patty tries to sedate Agnes with ketamine. Louise uses the box cutter to slash Patty's face. A struggle breaks out, and in the chaos, Agnes hides the syringe while Ben frees everyone. During the fight, Louise takes the gun and points it at Ciara and Patty. Ciara begs for help, claiming she was Patty's first victim and was abducted when she was Agnes's age. But no one believes her, and they lock them inside. Just as they're about to drive away, Mike arrives and starts shooting, forcing them to rush back into the house and close all the windows. Meanwhile, Mike breaks the lock and frees Ciara and Patty. Inside the house, Louise tries to call the police, but Ciara cuts the phone line. The four of them quickly hide in a room and barricade the door. Ben lights one of Patty's liquor bottles and tries to set the barn on fire to get attention, but Mike sees them and shoots at them. Ben misses, and the bottle falls onto Patty's car, setting it on fire. Louise and Ben then hide the kids in a closet and tell them to stay quiet. Mike climbs up a ladder to the roof and breaks the attic window to enter the house. Ben hears the noise, grabs a hammer, and goes upstairs to check. When he sees Mike, he quickly hides. Meanwhile, Patty and Ciara enter the house through different entrances and begin searching for them. Just as Patty is about to find the kids, Louise attacks him with bathroom acid, burning his face. Ciara rushes to help him, washing his face with water. Louise uses this moment to run upstairs with the kids, where they run into Mike. Mike chases after them and Ben follows, engaging in a fight with him. Mike overpowers Ben and nearly impales his head on broken glass. Fortunately, Louise arrives just in time, grabs the hammer and kills Mike. The four of them head to the attic and attempt to escape through the roof using the ladder. Just as Agnes is about to climb down, Ciara catches up to them and points her gun at them. Louise strikes her over the head, causing Ciara to fall off the roof and knock the ladder down with her, leading to her death. Ben pulls Agnes up and then jumps down himself, injuring his leg. Despite the pain, he manages to bring the ladder back up so everyone can climb down. Just then, Patty appears and holds Agnes at gunpoint, seeking revenge for Ciara. Agnes quickly takes the ketamine syringe and injects it into Patty's abdomen, incapacitating him. Ben points the gun at Patty but eventually lowers it. However, Aunt grabs a large brick and smashes Patty's head as he screams in rage. The group finally escapes the farmhouse, and Agnes gives Hoppy to Aunt to comfort him.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our channel for more videos.